So we're told ANC officials have met NEC member Lindiwe Sisulu. You'll remember how harshly she criticized the judiciary and the constitution in an opinion piece that she wrote. Then there was the ugly and very public spat with the president. So exactly what did they want her to explain? Now you'll remember this is also an election year in the ANC. Let's discuss these dynamics with political analyst Lesiba Teffo. Many thanks for your time this morning, Mr. Teffo. Before we get into issues around Lindiwe Sisulu and the developments around her meeting with the ANC NEC, your reflections on what's transpired around the Chief Justice interviews that happened last week. You've been very critical of that, of what unfolded last week.
Thank you, ma'am. I really was ashamed of myself. I was ashamed to see what was going on and in the main be conducted by those that really aren't representing the founding fathers of the nation. Perhaps the president should also appreciate the fact that it is good to consult, but it's not always ideal. After the first recommendation by the panel is set up just to identify a few people, perhaps you should have gone further to conclude the process, because the JSC is not what it should be, truth be told. There are men and women who sit there who don't qualify to be in those positions. I listen to them ask a question like, what do you understand by the separation of powers? That you do in the first 6 months of your legal studies, political science, or jurisprudence. That you do at elementary level, but I appreciate that they are wanting in terms of the knowledge of the law. Can we reconstitute the JSC? Maximum 10 people, 80% legal people. Let's go the route of changing the law if we want to save this country. Because I am concerned we are really demeaning leading men and women who have proven over the past 5 years or 10 years that they were the bulwark when democracy was under attack. Now you are attacking them in order to weaken and to delegitimize them even prior to the commencement of their office. But let me leave it there. I wrote something to that effect, but I was embarrassed and I was ashamed. And I'm calling upon the president, just be decisive. You are consultative and it's appreciated, but that's enough.
No,
just
absolutely.
be decisive.
Yeah.
And be prepared to live with the question.
And one would hope that the president is listening to you this morning, Mr. Teffo. Let's move on to this other issue that is a thorn, I assume, in the president's back as well as the party. The ANC-NEC meeting between Tourism Minister Lindiwe Sisulu as well as that body there, the executives in that particular organizations. Your thoughts on how this entire process has unfolded and the manner at which the ANC has dealt with these developments?
It's a bit delicate. I will defend Sisulu by all means possible, her right to express her views. But there's no right that is absolute. Each right is limited by another right. And there is what is called the decorum of the office. Joe Average in the streets of Mamelodi can express him or herself the way he or she pleases. But once you assume executive positions, you also forgo certain rights. You are also constrained by the decorum of the office to express and to conduct yourself in a certain way. Surely she could have expressed her views, but in a more modest and within the confines prescribed by the executive code. But she had the right. And even Justice Zondo said that much, that we are no angels and we shall take heartily constructive criticism, but let us not be insulted. And I'm saying further, let them not be delegitimized for political ends, as it happened in the Judicial Service Commission yesterday.
No, absolutely. And that's the big point here, is that there is a lot of constant politicking within the ranks of the ANC and, of course, filtering through into the rest of the nation. How best does the ANC-NEC deal with this particular matter, particularly because we've seen that the minister has remained very defiant over the last few weeks when it comes to taking accountability, in that there's a difference between criticizing and then insulting the judiciary?
Yeah, I think she went overboard. At least that much I would have thought she could acknowledge. And it's even worse when you even isolate a group of judges and say, blacks in particular, right? Blacks in particular. And that was the lowest point of her argument. Calling people house niggers, really? Really? I don't think she will look back one day when she's sitting under a marula tree after retirement and feel like I ought not to have said that. But I think she can still be magnanimous enough, like Chief Justice Mohen did a few days ago, just to acknowledge that there were things I wanted to express. I own up to that, but at least the tenor of my statement, the tenor of my language was unfortunate.
No, it was unfortunate indeed, Mr. Teffo. But what about the prospects or the debate that this was done solely on the back of having some kind of clout when it comes to taking over the top seat at the ANC at the conference at the end of this year? Did this do anything for her when it comes to her ambitions?
Once you drift in that direction, then you are likely to lose the plot, because then you are dragged into the narrative and the contestation and discourses of ANC politics, which I always am wary to be drawn into. She has the right, by the way, by all means, she has the right, as per the constitution of the ANC, to contest the highest office in the ANC. Indeed, even the highest office in the land, if our constitution allowed that. Okay? But let's not in any way suggest that it's solely and precisely because of that. There could have been a merit in what she said, and then there are people who are owning up to that, even the leadership of the ANC. But she has the right to contest like any other person, and I would defend her to that extent. They are playing their politics. I'm not part of that. I don't intend to be part of that. But don't weaken her prospects by beginning to overplay this bit. They could handle it internally. I still hear people that she's defiant. I'm not sure if she's defiant, because at the same time, we don't know exactly what transpired in that meeting. And we are almost prone to hammering her. She didn't conduct herself as best as she could, but let us equally not be part of the cabal that seem to keen to thwart her prospects towards marching to the State House.